Hi YouTube, my name is Charlotte. This is my first video on here, so please be nice. A lot of people have told me that I should start doing makeup tutorials, so I figured I'd give it a shot. The look I'm going to be doing today is this one right here. It is a burgundy smoky eye. It's a very bold look. It's one of my favorite looks to do, one that I do quite often. So if you like this look, please keep watching. First, I'm going to start with my foundation primer. This is the Smashbox Photo Finish Pore Minimizing Foundation Primer. This is a silicone-based primer. It works really well with the foundation that I'm using. One thing that I've learned is that you do have to match your foundation to your primer. This is a silicone-based primer. My foundation is silicone-based as well. So if you have a water-based foundation, you need to find a water-based primer, and so on and so on and so on. So this is the one that I found works the best for me. It's kind of similar to the Professional from Benefit, but this one is a little bit more moisturizing. The Professional is just a little bit drier, and I find that with my dry skin, this one works a little bit better. I have already put moisturizer on my face, so I will list everything that I use to prep my face, my eye cream, my moisturizer, all of that. I'll list all of that down below, but I'm going to start with this. Just get a little bit on your fingers. You don't need a whole lot. This seems to be the area of my face that my foundation tends to wear off the most. I probably touch my nose a lot. I do hair, so I get hair all over my face and I'm constantly rubbing my nose and all of that. So this stuff actually helps really, really well to keep my foundation on. Now I'm going to move on to my eyeshadow primer. This is the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion Anti-Aging. This is my favorite primer. It works really, really well. So I'm just going to use the little applicator it comes with and dab it onto my eyelids. And tap it in with my finger. Now I'm going to set the primer with this translucent powder. It is from Sephora. The brush I'm using is the setting brush from Real Techniques. I love this brush to set my eyeshadow primer and underneath my eyes. It is nice and fluffy and it doesn't seem to move any product around too bad. So I just like to swirl this around a little bit in there and tap off the excess and just press it in. I am going to start by doing a little bit of color correcting underneath my eyes before I do my eyeshadow. There's a little bit of discoloration in here, so I like to do the color correcting before I put my eyeshadow on. This is the Erase Paste from Benefit. It is in the color Fair number 1. It has a slight peachy tone to it, so it helps to counteract any of the purple and blue tones under my eyes. Using my Real Techniques makeup sponge, I'm just going to get a little bit of the product on the very tip of it and start to apply that directly under my eyes. You don't need a lot of this. I don't want to cake a whole bunch of stuff underneath my eyes, so this is just going to be a very thin layer. Now I'm going to go into my Lorac Unzipped palette. I am going to be using the shade Unconditional right here. And that's going to be my transition color. The brush I'm going to be using is this Starlooks Deluxe Precision Brush, number 835. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of the product and go right above where my natural crease is. This color is going to help blend all of the darker colors into the lighter color and keep all of the darker colors from going all the way up to my eyebrow, because that's not a very cute look. I'm going to start creating the wing shape with this color I am going to be doing a winged eyeliner, and I have found that if you get the shape of your eyeshadow even, it's a lot easier to get your eyeliner even. I'm just going to bring this all the way in to the inner corner of my eye, right in the eye socket right here. Now I'm going to be using this little eyeshadow compact from Starlooks. It is in the color Agave. It doesn't have any individual colors for them, but I'm going to be using the red shade right here and the same Starlooks brush. This color I'm going to apply directly underneath that other color that we just used, and directly into the crease. Sometimes it's easier to get your crease perfect if you kind of open your eye a little bit and just allow the brush to go directly into there, into the crease. Now I am going to bring this color a little bit onto the eyelid. I'm going to be leaving the center open, basically where my pupil would be. I'm going to leave that little circle open. Now I'm going to take this fluffy tapered brush from Luxie, number 205, and I'm just going to buff that out a little bit. Now I'm going to be using this eyeshadow from ColourPop. It is in Central Perk. This is their Supershock shadows. I love these eyeshadows. They are really spongy, so it's a little bit of a different texture from most eyeshadows that I've used, but they work really well, and the trick to them is that you just have to build on top of it. So you just have to like apply a little bit and then just keep building on top of it to achieve the deepest amount of color that you want. And I'm going to be using this little smudge brush from ecotools. I love ecotools brushes. They are nice and affordable, and they work really well, and they're really soft, and they blend really nicely. Just swirling my brush around in the eyeshadow, and then I'm going to apply this color. This is my deepest color for the look, so I'm just going to be applying this directly into the crease. And continuing that wing shape out here so that I can trace that with my eyeliner. I'm pretty much applying this shadow directly over top of the Starlooks shadow. And sort of trying to blend it out with the brush as I go, because you don't want to let any harsh lines sit with this shadow, or else you won't really be able to blend them out. So you want to continue, as I said, to just build on top of it and create the blended shape as you go. Okay, so now taking my E25 brush from Sigma, I am going to just blend this out a little bit more and soften those lines. I'm going to dip back into this Starlooks shadow just a little bit and apply it directly on top of that gradient area just to help soften those lines just a little bit more. And going back with my Sigma brush. Going back into my Lorac palette, I'm going to use the color Undercover. And I'm going to apply that with a small, flat, thin, synthetic rounded brush. Apply that right to the center of my eyelid where we left it open. Just tap it in. I'm going to really pack that shadow on there to make it nice and bright. And sort of feather the edges out so that it blends into the burgundy. Going back with my Luxie brush, I'm just going to blend that out a little bit. And going in with this angled blending brush from ecotools, I'm going to pick up a little bit more of the Undercover and sweep it right on top of that brow bone. Now I'm going to do my eyeliner. I'm going to be using this Starlooks Luxe Pro Longwear eyeliner pen. And as I said before, I'm just going to trace those eyeshadow lines. Moving on to foundation, I'm going to be using the Kat Von D Lock-It Tattoo Foundation in the color Light 44. I am going to apply it to this small mirror that I got at the dollar store. You can apply it to the back of your hand, but I find that it absorbs some of the product, and one pump is exactly enough for what you need to cover your whole face. So I am going to be doing this with the flat part of my makeup sponge. And you just want to get a little bit of it on the tip and sort of tap it around and distribute it into a certain area. This foundation can be a little bit tricky to use because if you cake it on too much, it will look cakey and gross, and it will settle into any fine lines that you have, and it will just not look very good. So it is very important to work really, really slowly with this foundation and use little bits at a time and just concentrate on one area of your face at a time. So now I'm going to go ahead and finish concealing under my eyes. I'm going to be using the Amazing Cosmetics Amazing Concealer in Fair. You really don't need much. This is perfectly enough, probably more than enough for one eye. And I like to just kind of distribute it all around that area. Now to highlight my face, I'm going to be using the Sephora Collection Bright Future Gel Serum Concealer. This has a very interesting applicator. I would kind of not hate it if they would change that a little bit because you get most of it at the tip. So this I'm going to apply directly underneath my concealer. I don't really want to apply it over top because then you're going to get a bunch of cakiness and it's settling into any lines and it's just not going to look very good. So I'm just applying this directly to the top of my cheekbones, bringing it down into a triangle just a little bit. And along my jawline. And my chin. Using the flat part of my sponge again, I'm going to just buff that out. And being really, really careful underneath my eyes. I am going to use the little pointy part of my brush for this. Sponge. Why do I keep calling it a brush? Sponge. I'm going to take whatever is left on the sponge and sort of dab it down the bridge of my nose. And to set all of that in place, I'm going to be going back into my Sephora translucent powder with my setting brush. And same as with my eyes, I'm just going to dab this brush in, tap off the excess, and press it into concealer. You don't really want to do this because you're going to move all of that concealer around and it's going to create some weird like streakiness, and that's not what we're trying to do here. So just pat it in and try not to move anything around. Now to set the rest of my face, I'm going to be using this Ben 9 Neutral Set Powder. This is a antiperspirant setting powder. I find that it works really well to keep my makeup in place all day long. What I like to do is I use this flat custom coverage buffing brush from ecotools. It's got that flat end on it, so it works really well to just pick up a lot of product and press it right into the foundation. I just put this brush right down in there and get a lot on and tap it off. Just to make sure that the whole brush is coated. And then I press it into my skin. You kind of want to make your face look a little chalky for this. You will buff it off later, but this is what's going to help keep that foundation on your face all day long. Now I'm going to take this powder brush from ecotools, just a round powder brush, and use that to buff off any excess powder. This is a really, really, really important step because if you don't do this, you will look like you have powder all over your face. And if you try to take any selfies, it's not cute. Moving on to contour. I am going to be using this Lorac Pro Contour palette. Unfortunately, my little shimmer highlight has taken a spill. I tried to fix it, but we'll see how long it lasts. I'm going to be using the sculpting brush from Real Techniques. I've tried quite a few different other contour brushes, and this has just been my favorite. It's so flawless and it's so easy to do. It doesn't take a lot of work to blend it out. It's so awesome. I even have this one, this little flat one, which somebody recommended to me to say that it was the best contour brush there is. I still like this one. So I'm going to be using the color Light Contour right here. This stuff is very, very pigmented, so I just press my brush into the powder and tap off any excess, and then pretty much draw out my line, and using swirling motions just buff it out. See how easy that was? Piece of cake. Now for my blush, this is a plum from Lancome. I'm going to be using just a basic blush brush for this. I don't really know what it's called, but I'm going to apply it directly to the apples of my cheeks and sweep it a little bit onto my cheekbones. I don't really want to get it on top, but I'm going to get it directly on it. Now for my highlight, I'm going to be using this Model Co Trio, the color Champagne right here. I'm just going to get a little bit of this onto my finger and tap it on top of my cheekbones. Normally I would also put a little bit of this right here on my chin, but I have a little friend right here, and I'm not really trying to showcase him. So now I'm going to apply a second highlight directly on top of my cream highlight. This is the color Spoon. It's the Supershock Cheek highlight from ColourPop. This is my favorite highlight ever. These are the same as the shadows, so they're a little spongy. You do have to keep the lid on very tight. I'm sure that's what happened right there. Using your finger again, it's the best way to pack this on top of any cream highlight. Just pat it right on top. I'm going to do this right on the bridge of my nose, and I kind of did it right there on a little ball of it and on my Cupid's bow. Moving on to eyebrows, I'm going to be using this eyebrow shaper crayon from NYX. It's just a little wax pencil, and I just like to put this on before the powder because it helps the powder stick really well and keeps them in place all day long. I do tend to sleep on my face, so this helps any crazy, unruly eyebrow hairs to lay down and stay put. And using my little eyebrow brush, this is an L brush, I think I got it at Kohl's in the clearance bin. It's got a spoolie on one end and a little flat angled brush on the other end. I'm going to use the spoolie to comb my eyebrows into the shape that I want them. Luckily, my eyebrows have a really nice shape to them already, so I don't really need to do much drawing them on, just filling them in. Now I'm going to be using the eyebrow powder from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is in the shade Ebony. I really, really like this. I just got it And this is my first time using it, but I really love this brow powder. It's very fine and it works really well. And like I said earlier, I'm not really painting my eyebrows on. I'm more just filling in the shape that they already have so that they look darker and fuller. Oh, and I am using the darkest shade to do this. To make them look a little bit more natural, I'm not going to be really filling in this part too much, more as just blending it this way. Blending the darker color into these hairs. Now I'm going to line my waterline. I'm going to be using this eyeliner pencil from Lancome. And just apply that right to my waterline. I don't usually bring it all the way in, just right into the tear duct. Right up to the tear duct. And bring it up on my top waterline just to make my eyelashes look fuller and to help conceal the eyelash band. Going back into my Lorac palette, I'm going to be using that color Unconditional again, and the same Starlooks brush, swirling it around and applying it directly under the lash line. I am going to bring it into the corner to smoke it out a little bit. And going back in with Central Perk and my smudger brush, I'm going to just apply that directly underneath my eyeliner. Now I'm going to be using the Lancome Hypnose Drama mascara. This is my favorite mascara. And I'm just going to give my top lashes a nice good coating. Now for lashes. These are the House of Lashes Iconic. I like to use tweezers to do this. I find that it just works a lot easier than trying to get these claws to cooperate with me. And I'm using the Duo eyelash adhesive in clear, applying a thin band of glue all the way across, just like that. And then the trick is to let it dry for a couple seconds. You gotta let it dry for about 30 seconds before you try to apply it to your eyelash. Okay, so now I just stick it right in the middle and wiggle the corners out. I know a lot of people struggle with false lashes. It's definitely something that just takes practice. I've worn them basically every day for the last probably 4 or 5 years, and after a while you just get really good at it. Not to say that I am amazing at it all the time. Sometimes they just don't work for me and give me the hardest time possible, but after a while you pretty much just get into a rhythm of it. To finish my look, I'm going to be using the ColourPop Ultra Matte Liquid Lipstick. This is in the color Trap. This is my favorite liquid lipstick ever. You do have to be a little careful and only apply one coat. You can't really like cake it on too much or you're going to end up with it flaking and cracking and just not looking very good. So you have to be a little bit sparing with it, but it stays on all day long. Alright guys, so that was my video. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end. If you did like it, please subscribe to the channel and of course thumbs up the video. And please leave any comments, questions, anything that you have to say down below. Constructive criticism only, please. I love to hear everything that you guys have to say and I really look forward to doing more videos, so please stay tuned.